Welcome, everybody, to the Last Gasp Fantasy Sports Podcast, coming to you live from the Gibson Truck World studio here at Spurrier's Gridiron Grill and Visors. We're located at Celebration Point here in Gainesville, Florida. My name is TJ White. I'm your co-host, Brad Garman. How's it going, Brad?
It's good. Good to be here on a Halloween.
Yeah, happy Halloween, everybody. It's great to have you in Sunday morning. We got trick-or-treaters running around tonight. They're going to be scouring the neighborhoods and bothering everybody, or really, if you enjoy it like I do, it's a blast.
How many Patrick Mahomes you're going to see out there this morning tonight?
Yeah, you're going to see some people. I saw a great one, a video or a tweet of a costume was Urban Meyer and a doll in front of him, and that broke the internet. I thought it was hilarious. It was great. Last night we had a ton of kids over at our house doing that. We did trick or treat for the kids at the local elementary school on Friday. I mean, we had probably 400 or 500 people there, and it's just great for the community, and it's great for that, man.
Well, I just saying, if anybody sees the real Patrick Mahomes, please send him back to Kansas City.
Yeah, if anybody can find him and do whatever, just send him on back. So we want to thank our sponsors, Archer Electric Services Company, for their continued support of the show. Piesano Stone-Fired Pizza, door-to-door transport, Gibson Truck World, and also Viking Companies as one of our newest sponsors that have come on and shown their continued support for the show and for us to be able to talk fantasies with you guys every Sunday morning. You can find us on Facebook and YouTube every Sunday morning at 11 a.m. We're live here answering your questions on air. Send them in. We'll be answering them, talking about them, telling you what the best decision is, and then next week we'll recap some of those decisions and decide whether or not it was a good one or a bad one. One of the great ones last week was I got a trade for Burrow and Mike Evans, and they went off and absolutely took care of everything. So make sure you go on there, subscribe, click the notify, send those questions in, and it's fantastic. Also, you can find us on any of the social media platforms. You can find us at www.lastgaspfantasy.com and email us any questions during the week at lastgaspfantasy@gmail.com. I must have gotten 15 or 20 this week because we're going into buys. We're going into people getting hurt, Brad. I mean, you've gotten probably 10 or 15 yourself,
yes,
man.
I have, yes.
We were out here Thursday night, and it was great. We had a great outpour of people coming here. They came and asked so many questions. It was a little bit rainy outside an event, and it actually just was great. It happened. People were able to ask questions and ask anything you needed, man.
Correct.
We're going in a different direction, but it's great. I mean, we're always going to be evolving. We're always going to be getting better. I think we're always going to be doing things that are changing the narratives and trying to figure out what works. And it's just a great way to start manipulating some of the things that we're doing here, getting things going. You know, as we talked about the last gas of the week, and in last week's question for Piesano's last gas of the week, which QB would throw the most interceptions in week 7 in those total yards? Last week's winner was Freddie. And congratulations to Freddie. He went on there. He got it right. It was not Trevor Lawrence, even though that was a very popular answer on Facebook. We really appreciate it. So it wasn't him, but it was, congratulations to Freddie. This week we are going to be sponsoring a local event on Thursday night here at Celebration Point, here at Spurrier's Gridiron Grill, just outside on the lawn out there. So if you want to come out, meet us in person, we're going to be doing that. Last Gas will be sponsoring it. And we'll be giving out the Piesano's gift card then. So come on out, check us out. Brad, I mean, you come out there Thursdays with us, and it's a great time, man.
Come out every Thursday pretty much. It's a lot of fun. We have a lot of people participating in the events out here, and it's a great venue.
Yeah, and so, come out there. You'll see us out there. If you have a question, introduce yourself, talk about fantasy. We're live there. We talk about it, and it's a really good time to interact with the people that listen to the show and people that just come and want to talk fantasy football that they really can't talk about during the week.
Yeah, generally they got the coaches show going on upstairs, so we got a lot of football fans coming in and hanging out with us.
Yeah, I mean, don't forget about that here at Spurrier's. They have the coaches show upstairs as advisors. They have great food here. And it's just a really good venue if you want to get your family out and you want to just come out and hang out, and it's just a great time. So come on, show support, and come talk to us about some fantasy football. With that being said, Brad, let's get going into this and start talking about some recaps of last week.
Yeah, I'm going to start out with the Saints and Seattle game. It wasn't a really exciting game, but without Russ, Seattle is now 0-3 at home for the first time since 1992. They're really struggling without Russell Wilson in there, and he might win the MVP by not playing.
Well, I mean, and that game right there was just a game of. It was just weird to watch, and I watched a little bit of it here, I watched a little bit of it there, and then I turned it on late in that fourth quarter when it looked like Seattle was going to be able to take advantage and win that game, and then the Saints somehow pulled it out and won 13-10. My father-in-law was in a pick'em league and was in the way to get a chance, and he needed, I think, 37, and they only got to 23. So the person who picked the lowest number really got lucky there because they couldn't score worth anything.
Yeah, there were quite a few of the games that I would call blowouts, not exciting. And one of the other ones was the Bucks Bears, 38-3. But Tom Brady did break this record, get 600. He's over 600 touchdowns now for his career.
No, I'm glad you brought that up as a Bucks fan here. You know, I'm diehard with them. Good to see them go. I only have the one loss right now, and they're playing well, and they're injury prone right now, and they've got some players out. You know, Antonio Brown's out with a hurt ankle. Gronk's still out. They've got some guys on the defensive side that are out, but they're still piling up. They're still piling up wins.
Yeah, they are piling them up right now.
You know, and the winner, the true winner of that game, is the fan.
Yeah.
That Mike Evans gave the ball to.
They had to get the ball back, and my understanding is they gave him a couple gift cards and signs, a few things. But that football is valued at probably $10,000.
Oh, way more.
Way more.
So I'm a kind of a connoisseur in those collectibles and follow around local guy here and there's a card industry. It's your local card shop. Jamil's a great guy, and I've talked to him quite a bit. The estimated auction house estimated that bought $500,000. $500,000 that if it went to auction, that's what it would go for.
And Mike Evans just gave it away.
And Mike Evans just gave it away. But now the guy, I think he's a stand-up dude. He gave the ball back. Now Tom Brady met the guy.
Yes, he did.
He gave him signed jerseys. Mike Evans gave him signed cleats. He got 2 season tickets for this year, 2 season tickets for next year. Tom Brady also threw in a Bitcoin that at the time the Bitcoin was there was worth $63,000. And then you also have Gronk and another member of him throwing in Bitcoin change too, and on top of that compiling it. So I think overall he ended up getting about $130,000 worth of stuff for the ball. And I mean, it's just a great store. You know, when you have pieces of memorabilia that are history like that, and I looked at some of the numbers, the closest active player I think was Aaron Rodgers, and he was at like 430. Think about that. There's 170 more touchdowns than the next closest active player, and nobody's catching him. Nobody's catching him.
No one's catching him right now. No.
So it's wild, man.
Another game that exciting for the Giants fans, but not very exciting of a game, is 25-3 over the Carolina Panthers. But congratulations, Giants, getting another win.
I mean, and I kind of watched that game, and I was like, wait, the Giants are leading, and then the Giants are leading again, and the Giants are leading again, and it was like, wait, now they're going to win this game. And you know, as much as this, if they would stay healthy, they might have been a pretty decent team this year.
Yes,
and it's wild to see that they're still hanging in. They haven't lost respect for each other. They're still battling. They still got Jones in there that's playing really well, and I mean, they're going to get healthy, and they're not going to be fun to play against.
And Booker went in and performed decent, 14 carries, 51 yards, a touchdown, a couple of receptions, 15 yards. But it just wasn't Barkley.
Yeah, no, and that's the thing is he's so dynamic when he touches it. But, you know, if it's serviceable. You know, a guy that we're going to talk about the waiver wire here is Dante Pettis. He had 5 receptions, 39 yards, and a TD.
Yeah.
I mean, it's only 10 points, but at this point in the season, if you're looking to fill a roster spot and you're needing help from somebody,
you'll take those 10 points.
You know he's out there.
Yes.
And you know he's probably in 2% of the leagues filled in right now. So take a look at him. He's a name that might be picked up.
You know, Indianapolis and the 49ers, another game that it was a torrential downpour, so the game was a little wet, sloppy, everything like that. The Colts win 30-18. But what I thought was neat was Jonathan Taylor and Elijah Mitchell both had 18 carries and both had 107 yards. You know, pretty much exact stats. Each had a touchdown. So it was
that is great. You know, and we talked about it last week as Carson Wentz being a sleeper pick and him being able to come into Indy and do something, and it shows. I mean, 30 points is pretty good, and he navigated that offense pretty well, and he made a big third down run that converted late in that game, and he looked like he was moving in mud, but he made it and he got there, and it was great to see.
And I started Carson Wentz because I have Josh Allen, and Josh Allen was on bye, and then my other quarterback was Kirk Cousins, but I started Wentz, and it was respectable numbers.
Yeah. We got a question on Facebook here, Brad, and we're going to talk about it. And it's about a trade. Would you trade Tyler Lockett and Alvin Kamara for T.J. McLaurin and DeAndre Swift? So we got decent receiver
and
who's ranked 86 right now. A decent running back in Kamara, ranked 45. and he's trading for McLaren and Swift, a 48 and a 33 ranking wise. And I think the question is it worth the outlook away?
Right, and that's what my thought is. Swift's having a great season so far. Is he going to continue on and be able to do this throughout 16, 17 games?
Yeah.
Kamara's proven himself. He will be there. Now, New Orleans just signed Ingram
as the
back
yep.
up there. So I think that's going to actually help Kamara by relieving some of the carries because Kamara's been the only running back right now.
Right.
If I'm sitting in his shoes, I don't think I do it.
Yeah, that's where I'm at too. Lockett hasn't proven himself to me, and he's just a boomer bust kind of player right now. And if he's not producing week in and week out, I can't give up McLaren, who has been producing week in and week out. And that was the deal breaker. If I'm reading it right, is for me. So I would keep your players and not go for that trade.
I have to agree with you on this one.
I think we're at the Cardinals Texans here. Cardinals go into the business, do what they're supposed to do, give up 5 points, and win 31-5. James Conner, once again, is just a goal line monster and is scooping up TDs all day long.
Yes. Next game, we finally get to a little bit of competitive games. The Rams-Lions, 28-19. Stafford throws for 3 more touchdowns, and him and Cooper Kupp are just on fire.
Yeah, I was talking to a guy Thursday night who actually was out here like we talked about earlier, having come out here and wanted to talk about football, and he said he had the option of picking up Cooper Kupp or the other receiver from St. Louis, and he went with the other receiver from St. Louis during the draft, and he goes, "Man, that's the biggest mistake I made all season." He goes, "It's been unreal that the Georgia connection between Cooper Kupp and Matthew Stafford." And that stings me to say that after yesterday's absolute debacle with the Florida Georgia game. But they've done everything right in St. Louis to connect to those two guys.
Kupp ends up with 10 receptions, 156 yards, and 2 touchdowns.
Swift,
we were just talking about Swift, 13 carries, 48 yards, but he had the 8 receptions, 96 yards receiving out of the backfield and a touchdown. So, Swift is very
he's done a great job. He's been serviceable this year. And 8 receptions and 96 yards on a PPR league, even if it's half-point PPR league.
Beautiful there.
It's a great tag, for sure.
One of the most impressive games I was impressed with was the Raiders-Eagles game. With the Raiders going through all the situations they're going through and coming off a couple of losses and then having to lose their coach, come back with 2 straight wins now. And pretty impressive, 33-22 over Philadelphia.
Yep.
Kenyon Drake was 14 for 69 with a touchdown. So, I mean, they played well.
No, and it is. You would have never guessed after what the turmoil they've had to go through that they would be the next 2 games that they're losing their coach would go win the next 2.
Yeah.
And that's just saying something for the players and saying something for that organization. And so, it really is a business job out there that these guys are going out there and performing every week. So give them mad respect to the Raiders. And for moving on and continuing to do what they're going to do on their first season there in Las Vegas.
Then
you got to. I mean, if you lived in Las Vegas, you've got to want to play for them. Right? You got to want to support. Like that's a blast city.
Derek is playing pretty well this year. He had a couple off games, but he's playing pretty well this year.
Oh man, I love it. If you haven't gone to Vegas, go check it out. I love Vegas. It's a great place. Great time to be there. And now they got football. It's even better.
Exactly. Aaron Rodgers is still on that hot streak after week 1. But wins 24-10. We just talked about McLaurin. He had 7 receptions for 122 yards and a touchdown. Devontae Adams, 6 receptions, 76 yards and a touchdown.
Yep. So, and the thing is we can recap, Thursday night game, that 24-21 Packers Cardinals game. It was a really, really good game until the end of the fourth quarter.
Yes.
And I mean, everything was meant to be. It wasn't a high score, and there was good defensive plays. Both quarterbacks played well. And, for the Packers to give the ball up late there and for the Cardinals to be able to go down and have a chance to win it, and A.J. Green just stopped running. And then I know there was some miscommunications there. When I saw a meme, Brad, and it was hilarious. It said, "This is the first time I've ever seen a wide receiver retire in the middle of a route."
Exactly.
And I mean, it looked like that. He was there, he was running, and he stopped. And then all of a sudden, excellent play by the DB to keep his head up and turned around, tips into his hand, drags his toes, and there's the game, 24-21. And, it's still both those teams are going to be in the playoffs.
Exactly.
And the Miami Dolphins are celebrating again. And now it's only happened in week 8. They get to pop the champagne bottles as being the only undefeated team ever in the NFL. So, you think about that. So I'm sure they're pretty happy.
Yeah, we talked about the Stafford Cup combination, but I think the best combination in football is the next one is the Burrows Chase. The Bengals-Ravens game. Bengals 41, Ravens 17. Chase ends up with 8 receptions, 201 yards, and a touchdown.
Yeah.
Burrows is just, coming off the injury last year, is coming back this year and playing terrific. And him and Chase, from college now to pros, are in a connection.
Yeah, no, it really is. They're really playing well, and he looks healthy again. We always talk about Dak being the comeback player of the year. Joe Burrow's got to be in that race too. I mean, he was out last season hurt, and he's putting up numbers like it never stopped. I mean, he's putting up mad numbers. It's great to see for a young guy just playing well out of Cincinnati, and Cincinnati's deserved something like this. They've had some pretty downtrodden years, and so for them to have some wins like this is pretty cool.
So, if you're a team with one of these young quarterbacks, are you going back and looking at their college teams, who they made connections with as receivers? Because it seems like it's working.
You have to kind of think that now. I mean, there's some connections all over the place. The Jalen Hurts, Devontae Smith. You've got the Jamar Chase. You got Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow. You've even got somewhat with Stafford and Kupp, even though they're not from the same genre when they play together, but they're still Georgia boys. I mean, it's across the league that you've got players that are the same college teammates or played for the same team that have the understanding of what's expected from them. So it's great. I'm gonna go to our sponsor read here real quick, Brad, and then we'll continue back on it. Archer Electric Services Company. They're bringing you over 30 years of experience and leadership to both commercial and electric needs for Gainesville and surrounding communities. Piesano's Stone-Fired Pizza. Whether you're looking for a quick lunch or a dinner destination to meet up with friends and families, Piesano's is your place to go. Celebrate life's most memorable moments with delicious dishes, whether in your dining room or ours. Also, special thanks for the studio sponsor, Gibson Truck World, Spurrier's Gridiron Grill Advisors for having us here at this location, and also the newest member of the team, Viking Companies, for their continued support of this program. And we couldn't do it without them, so special thank you. Go check them out. Check their website out. If you need any work done, those are great sponsors to do it, so it's fantastic.
This the next game I want to talk about is the Chiefs-Titans game.
Yeah.
Derrick Henry didn't run for a touchdown. He threw one.
It's great because, you talk about it as, they only want to give MVPs to quarterbacks. And it was great because he goes, all right, hold my beer, Brad. It was like, hold my beer because I'm going to throw a touchdown this year so I can be a quarterback, running back, and a receiver.
He doesn't break 100 for the first time in a while. It was 29 carries, a lot of load, 86 yards. 2 receptions, 16 yards, but the one passing touchdown. I love it.
No, it's great. Brad, we'll transition a little bit here. We're going to go into what game surprised you the most last week, and this is I don't think that we both agreed on this one, but I think they're both good choices.
Yeah. Again, I went with the Raiders-Eagles game just because of the Raiders. Again, we're on a 2-game losing streak and come back and now have put together a 2-game winning streak with the new head coach, and they could have folded and really lost their season, and they've come back and played very well, and again, they're back on a 2-game winning streak.
No, it is, and like we said, that's a good story, and we'll see how it pans out for the rest of the season. But where they're at now, I don't think anybody expected them. So I'm glad they're doing well. Glad to see the Raiders are winning. The Raiders are a history of franchise. Their fans are nuts. They're wild, and it's a blast.
It's a blast.
My biggest surprise game of the week, and we kind of touched on it with Joe Burrow and Chase, was Cincinnati took it to Baltimore. I mean, it was never close. They might have scored some points late in the end, but that's a big interdivisional rivalry. Now that moves Cincy into first.
Yes.
And with all the talk what Baltimore's done this year and what Lamar Jackson has done, his highest stat this week was he ran the ball 12 carries for 88 yards.
Right.
And that's a problem for them. They've got to he can't do everything for them and continue to do everything because he's going to get tired.
And I think that's where it's coming. They've been able to put these running backs in and have enough yards and enough distraction that letting Lamar Jackson do what he does. But like you said, he's getting tired. I think he cannot do a full season like this.
Right. And so it's one of those things that I don't know if this is more Cincinnati beat Baltimore or Baltimore just wasn't there. And so Joe Burrow, like you've already said, 416 yards, 3 TDs. Jamar Chase, 8 receptions, 201 yards. He sheds a tackler in that first quarter. I mean, he made them look like they were just like paper, just running right through him, spun him off, and takes it to the house for just a monster touchdown to start that game. And, Cincinnati is a team to be feared right now. Joe Mixon is having a heck of a season so far. I have him on my team. He's a must start in every league if you're playing him. So watch out for Cincinnati right now.
I agree with you.
They're dangerous.
Yes.
And they're tied for first. The Steelers are still in the hunt, but not really there. I think they're 4-2. Baltimore's 4-2. I think Steelers are 3-3 behind them. And Cleveland's still in that division, and Cleveland's not playing bad. This is a very, very, very balanced division, and I think it's tough.
Yeah, and Cleveland's had their running backs hurt. They're just getting Chubb back today. Dearness Johnson went in and did a marvelous job filling in as a third-string running back, getting 146 yards, I think it was.
That was the story that the NFL was pushing hard this week, was that Dearness thing, and that where was he at? He was having to send all of his videos in just to get an opportunity to play in some places, and so it's great to see those kinds of stories for players that don't give up.
Right.
And it shows that if you have a dream and you want to go for it, man. And don't let people stop you. Enjoy it. And it's your passion, just have it, man. And I love those kind of stories. I love that kind of actions,
But I do agree with you that is a tough division.
It's wild, man. The most performance that surprised us for the week, and I'm going to start off on this one, Brad, because I had these guys as must starts last week. And I had them going, hey, these are guys that you should play. And it was Matt Ryan and Matt Stafford.
Yep.
Matt squared. And both of them played well. Matt Ryan beats the Jets. Stafford beats his old teams, the Lions. After the game, he said it was a relief to get this out of the way and move on to the next game. But they both put up great numbers. Stafford puts up 334 in yardage, 3 TDs. He was 28 for 41. And, just an all-around good game there. Also, Matt Ryan goes 25 for 40, 336 yards and 2 DDs. I mean, both top 10 fantasy points in either standard or PPR league. So it was a great play, and I hope you played them.
Yeah, and mine were Dearness Johnson, which we just talked about,
Yep.
And then a connection that you just had, Matt Ryan, to Kyle Pitts. Kyle Pitts started off the season a little slow, but guess what? He's come back the last 2 games, both games over 100 yards. This time he had 7 receptions, 163 yards.
Yep.
I think they've started finding that formula.
You might be right. Just a reminder, send us your live questions right now on Facebook. Comment on the show, whether it's on YouTube or Facebook. We'll get them. We'll answer. I know you guys got a lot of questions on the bye weeks coming up. Who should I start in the last minute here? Hit us up. Let us know, and we'll get those answered live on air for you. And we appreciate everybody listening and watching here on Facebook and YouTube and throughout the week when we're at the show going on. Brad, you nailed it, though. I read a stat with Kyle Pitts. If I read it right, he's the first rookie tight end to go for over 100 yards in a season, on one game, in a single game.
Wow.
And so that's something to be said. I mean, rookie tight ends just don't typically get a lot of credit because they're more of a liability in the blocking schemes for the running games and the slope and the ground and pound that the NFL likes to run. They don't like to run those up-tempo kind of run and gun games. And so for him to get that kind of credit as a rookie quarterback, a rookie tight end going into the game is great there in Atlanta.
Yeah, I'm surprised to hear that because, I would think Hernandez or somebody like that would have come out as a rookie and hit 100 yards.
But as a rookie, they didn't get a lot of time.
That's
they
true.
always would sit behind somebody, and second, third year guys would always get that. And it's I don't have to double check that stat, but I thought I read something like that. Or it's just impressive.
Well, he's done it 2 games in a row now.
What's your biggest disappointment of the week? And I think we both agreed on this, which is not a surprise because it was an absolute shocker.
Well, I agree that the Chiefs had a pretty horrible game too, but mine was the Baltimore Ravens last week. You just, I think it's a lot to do with Lamar having to do a lot of it on his own, and Cincinnati just came down there and stopped Lamar.
Yeah.
Yes, he did get 86 yards or something like that on the running, but they stopped everything else that he was doing.
Yeah, no, it's so me, like you said, that is a big surprise there, and I agree with that with Lamar. But the Chiefs, I can't get past the both sides there. I can't get past that the Titans coming off the big win against the Bills on Monday night, surprising everybody and getting that win, and then coming back and just absolutely dismantling the Chiefs. The Chiefs, Chiefs didn't look like they knew what they were doing out there. I mean, it was just not a good game by them or game plan. And I mean, Mahomes doesn't look like Mahomes, like you said. You got a missing poster out there and post it on our Facebook page, and it was great. I mean, if you find him, grab him and put him out there. So, I mean, that's a big deal for me.
Yeah. And, what they did do is they did slow down Derrick Henry.
Yeah.
So they were able to do that, but the Titans said, you know what, we have more than just Derrick Henry. And that's kind of where we're going with Baltimore is if you don't have the other option, you don't have the other talents around you, are you going to be able to get it done all year long?
Right. And that's really what it's about. So we'll see. I think the Titans show that they're a real deal right now.
I agree.
And I wouldn't have said that 2 weeks ago. And after watching those two games, you don't count them out of the AFC. And they're going to be a team that you don't want to play in the playoffs because they can run the ball.
Correct.
And if you can run the ball in the playoffs, you stand a chance against anybody. And that defense plays pretty well. Vrabel's got him doing well. I mean, he's a defensive-minded guy. So I would not want to run into the Titans in the playoffs, to be honest with you.
Last year was the same thing. Towards the end of the year, Derrick Henry just got stronger in making those playoffs. I mean, those thirds and fourth quarters is where Derrick Henry is strong. As long as he doesn't get hurt,
Yep.
They're going to make a long run.
Okay, Brad. So, we like to ask each other kind of a question that's intriguing or kind of makes you think about what you're going to do when you have players. And as a fantasy owner, what would you do? And let us know what you do. When you have a player like Pat Mahomes, we just talked about the Chiefs giving it up like that. You drafted him in the first round. When do you give up on a guy like that? Do you consistently go, I live and die by this guy? Or do you, if you have someone like Joe Burrow or Daniel Jones sitting on the bench on your backup quarterback, or Jalen Hurts this week who's going to play a bad Detroit team, do you go and say, hey, I can't put my faith in him until he proves it anymore? Or how do you manage those kind of decisions as an owner in a fantasy?
I mean, when you're talking about a caliber player like Pat Mahomes, it's a little bit different than if you're talking about a wide receiver like a Hopkins or something like that. Patrick, unless you have a Joe Burrows, I think you have to start Patrick Mahomes. Yes, he's struggling right now,
right.
But I just don't see benching a Patrick Mahomes. This is one of the top quarterbacks that went on in everybody's draft.
Right.
Probably number one or number two out of quarterbacks in the draft.
Oh, definitely number one.
Yeah.
Probably number one quarterback selected in most drafts.
Most drafts.
Yeah.
So just to sit him after week 7, I would think it would be premature. If we're week 14, 15, and it's still doing the same thing, you got to go deep. But
here's my thing. At your week 7, you're only going to 13 or 14 before the playoffs start.
That's true.
So if you're making a run now and you don't make a decision to change right now, you're going to end up not making the playoffs. And I mean, how many times can you? In most standard PPO and standard leagues, the QB is the highest scoring position.
Yes.
And when you look at the story that we've shown you in the stats in the past, is that that position has to get you 30 to 35, if not 40 points a week. But the yardage and the TDs. And when he puts up a number like 10 back-to-back weeks, it's a time to question it.
Yeah.
And I think the thing is that he was the number one scorer average for standard leagues going into the last 2 weeks, and now he's dropped out of the top 10.
But I do think you need to go back and say you got Daniel Jones on the bench, which is a reliable start, but go back and look at the points throughout the first 7 weeks and look at Patrick's points through the first 7 weeks. Where is the difference? Are you going to get a big boost by putting in a Daniel Jones?
I mean, and that's the thing is that who was the defense he was playing to? Was he
correct?
If he's going into a week where he's got a little bit easier defense and maybe it's an easier week for him, it's also he lost his starting running back in Clyde Edwards-Helaire, who hasn't been out. He's been injured for a while. He's got a new guy behind him, but he's just not making good decisions. No. And that scares me more on a guy like him and top players when they're making not normal decisions, when they're not throwing the ball to the open receivers, they're not throwing it to Tyreek, they're doing shovel passes and trying to create things, and they're overthinking what they're doing. That's what I would look into versus him not being able to perform. Is his play on the field is not showing what he should be doing in the stats, and so that's what I would be concerned about.
Well, they goes into this week. I use Daniel Jones as an example, and it just happens to be they're playing each other Monday night. Kansas City's a 10-point favorite.
Yeah.
Do you play a Daniel Jones against Kansas City defense, which Kansas City defense isn't very good?
Right.
Or do you play Patrick, stay with him against a New York Giants team who hasn't showed a whole lot themselves until this week.
And see, that's the hard part. I picked Kansas City in my pick'ems, but I think the Giants are going to win this game.
They have an opportunity.
I mean, we talked about it last week. We can run down that. And we'll talk about more in the pick weeks and pick 'em games. Right now, we got to get to a break. And thank everybody to listen. We'll catch you back on the other side.
Gibson Truck World's expert team of sales and service staff will show you why we have been the pioneer of used trucks since 1995. With our 1-year bumper-to-bumper warranty valid across the entire United States, our exclusive 15-day exchange policy, and our $1,000 best price guarantee, it's easy to see why we're the #1 used truck dealership in all of Florida. Please call, visit, or explore our website today to see for yourself why we are the king of trucks.
Looking for more reasons to celebrate? We have them here at Celebration Point. Enjoy some of the newest additions to our already celebratory lineup, like Dave & Buster's, Les Macarons, and Prime and Pearl. There's always a reason to celebrate. Join us anytime for any occasion. Celebration Point, where Gators come to celebrate.
Visor's Tailgate and Rooftop Bar, located on top of Spurrier's Gridiron Grill in Celebration Point, is now open Thursday through Saturday. Visor's covered open-air bar is the perfect place to gather after work or meet up with friends. You'll love the handcrafted cocktails and elevated shareables available every Thursday through Saturday. Visor's Tailgate and Rooftop Bar is perfect for fans of great food, great drinks, and great weather. Visor's not required. High spirits are highly encouraged. Visit spurriers.com/visors.
Welcome back, everyone, to Last Gasp Fantasy Sports Podcast here from the Gibson Truck World Studio here at Celebration Point, Spurrier's Gridiron Grill and Visors, located in Gainesville, Florida. We want to say thanks to our sponsors, Archer Electric Companies, Piesano Stonefire Pizza, Spurrier's Gridiron Grill, and once again, Viking Companies for being a continued support of our program, Brad. It's awesome to have them here, and we can't say a thank you enough for the sponsors that provide this and do this for us every day. Also, we're live on Facebook, YouTube, and just recently Twitter. So you can go on Twitter, see us live. We're doing this right now on there. Send your questions in. We'll be able to answer them there. I know Twitter is where a lot of my local friends actually go on there and find sports and cast, and it's a new age. And, you know, as long as they're just looking and asking and want to do it and want to be quick about it, come on. We'll answer it, man, and it's great, Brad. You know, as we keep going and talking about this, we're going to move into the injury reports, get started on that here in a minute. But I got a question during the middle of the week, and Brad, I wanted your opinion on this, and we kind of talked about it during the break to see, you know, what would be the best answer here. The question was, you have Renfrow and Ruggs for Oakland, and you also have Osborne as a wide receiver for Minnesota, and he has to get rid of one of them. One of them's going to buy, and he's got to do some work and trying to figure out how to make a change. And he wants to know what is the best option. Is it worth keeping Renner and Ruggs? Is it worth having two guys on the same team? How do you manage those situations when you've got players on the same team, like a Kirk and a Patterson, and Hopkins and Kirk if you picked up Kirk this week.
Well, it also goes back to what type of offense we're running. If we're running a more passing offense or more running offense, over in Las Vegas, of course, they're passing the ball quite a bit. That's why Renfro and Ruggs are getting a lot of receptions and stuff. Osborne's had a couple good games. He started out this season very successful this year. Had first two games, and then he kind of slowed down in the middle, and then he had a great game this last week. It's a good options. He's got all three of them, but he has to drop one, huh?
Yeah.
If I have to drop one, I'm dropping Osborne because the other two have just been more consistent throughout the year.
Well, and I think that's what I mentioned to him. I was saying that you're going to find one of the two is going to rise to the top. The cream will rise to the top, as they like to say. So I think Renfro and Ruggs, you'll figure out which one you want to keep more, and you're going to have to pick up players as this goes on and the season goes on. So that was my recommendation, was to keep those two in the same team and get rid of Osborne. And he was looking to get a tight end too in this. So that's what we recommended. We love those kind of questions throughout the week. Me and Brad will sit there, we'll research it a little bit, and we'll give you some feedback and give you some reassurance or tell you you're a total idiot. If we think you're making a bad decision, we'll probably tell you that. So it'll be in a nice way. We won't just call you an idiot, Brad. So it's great, and that's what this camaraderie is about. On Thursday night, there was questions about a flex position, and a guy didn't even realize that he had Marvin Jones on his bench as a flex player. And I was like, this is a Marvin Jones, no doubt. And he's like, exactly. So it worked out well, and we helped him get him and hope that he goes out for a win. And, it's great to see that. So, Brad, I'm going to let you start off with injury reports. It looks like there's a pretty good list here, some players that really need to be mentioned. So we'll get going on that.
Yeah, if you have Washington, Curtis Samuels, wide receiver, he's out. Dolphins, Devontae Parker, he's limited in practice, so you got to keep an eye on that one. Preston Williams, groin's questionable. Over the Jets, you have Tevin Coleman, hamstring out. Zach Wilson's knee out. Corey Davis is doubtful as a wide receiver. The Giants, Barkley's still out. Galladay, I believe, is questionable. Tony's questionable. I'm sorry, Galladay's still out. Tony's questionable. Ingram's limited in practice, so he's questionable. And Sterling Shepard has a hamstring questionable.
So, we just talked about that, Brad.
Yeah.
If the Giants could be healthy, Jiminy Crickets, dude. We talk about it week in and week out with them. Hopefully they'll get healthy.
Your number one wide receiver, your number one running back, your quarterback half the time. It's hard to win when everybody's hurt.
Yeah, so that's rough.
Over at the Titans, you got Chester Rogers with the groin questionable, Julio Jones hamstring out, A.J. Brown questionable. The Lions, Jamal Williams with a thigh questionable, Andre Swift with a groin questionable. That's a tough one right there because we just had a question about Swift. I think he's going to play, but it's questionable.
And that's the thing too, is you just mentioned the Titans and Lions. A.J. Brown has picked it up recently. He's picked up some good games. He's had some good numbers, and you as a fantasy owner, you're just tired of dealing with some of the injuries there too. Is how can we just keep these guys actively known in the game, and then they'll come out there and play. So just keep an eye on it. That's part of it. This is the battle time of the season. The first part of the season is fun because you just picked your team and you're like, oh, I can be in the playoffs. And now some of you are still fighting for the playoffs and some of you are knocked out. So you're in there just trying to be a spoiler. That's what I am in a couple of mine, as I'm kind of a spoiler. Like it is what it is. And I'm still putting up great numbers, but I'm just not going to make the playoffs. And you might have that already, but now you get to have fun because you can take risks, you can take shots, you can pick up anybody off the waiver wire. You can have a lot of fun with it. Issue trades, do whatever you want.
Well, what time of the season we're in right now, with the buys being as strong as they are, and the injuries are coming, pretty heavy, you have to get on that waiver wire and start searching.
Yeah.
With the Lions, you got Jamal Williams questionable. We just went over those. Sorry. Yep. Cardinals, you got Daryl Daniels questionable. DeAndre Hopkins questionable. Bucks, Antonio Brown's out again. Rob Gronkowski is actually questionable this week. O.J. Howard's questionable. Seahawks, we know that Chris Carson's out on IR. Alex Collins is hurt. So is he going to play? Questionable. DK Metcalf is limited in practice.
And that's another one, man. He's been their horse there, man. He has done very well, even with Geno playing. And Geno's made some good plays, but I feel like they don't have the dynamic players they need to be successful on that team. And I know that's not really their gig, but they need some more athletes out there playing for them. And he's a workhorse as a wide receiver, and it's great to see him do that. But he needs some help on the sides.
But you really see what Russell Wilson did with the Seahawks. He's kept that program, that team, competitive every year. And then as he's gone down now, I mean, he hadn't missed a game in years.
Yeah.
But now he's missed a couple games in a row, and you've seen what's happened with Seattle.
Yeah, for sure, man.
The Saints, Dwayne Washington out. Deontay Harris, questionable. Taysom Hill, concussion, out. The Bills, Cole Beasley, did not practice this week. Emmanuel Sanders did not practice. Knox is out with a hand. That's their tight end.
That's tight end. So if you're looking for a backup tight end, see who's the Bills tight end right there. Find him up, pick him up. He's been a security blanket for Josh Allen there, and it's
been
find him. Yeah,
very reliable, and Josh Allen's hit him quite a bit. And Knox has had some really big games in scoring in fantasy football. So be a great look up to see what you can find for a tight end in the Bills right now.
Yeah.
Terrence Marshall over the Panthers out for the concussion. Eric Ebron, another tight end, out for the Steelers. Jarvis Landry, limited in practice, questionable for the Browns. Donovan People-Jones still out with the groin for the Browns. Miles Sanders out for the Eagles. Kendrick Boone, limited in practice for the Patriots. D.D. Westbrook, questionable for the Vikings. Austin Eckler, questionable for the Chargers. And one of the biggest questions right now is with the Dallas Cowboys, Dak Prescott.
Your boy, you know.
Last play of the game in overtime last week, he strains his calf muscle. He's questionable right now. He did make the flight to the game, but the talks are not very promising.
Well, and we talked about it a little bit, Brad. Is how do you pull your muscle on the last play to throw to CeeDee Lamb, and now he's out for maybe potentially the next week. And here's the question though, and as you being a big Dallas fan, and I've got some friends that are Dallas fans, you're sitting very, very strong in your division. You're gonna most likely win your division. You're not gonna get really tested by them. Do you even risk playing him today?
Yes, they have to keep Dak in the game. They got to keep moving forward with the winning streak that they're on, be competitive, everything like that. I don't think if Dak can play, you definitely go with him. I know that you don't want to see him get hurt. He just came off a bye, so we've had, 14 days before the last game, and if he's somewhat healthy and get out there and play, even at 80%, he's going to be 100% better than the backup.
Yeah, I believe that they can win without him, and that's why I'm asking it. I don't think he needs to play today. I mean, even if they lose this game, it's okay. You're still sitting 6-2, and you're still in it. And they've got enough playmakers around that with Zeke and Pollard and Amari, and you're going to get your other wide receiver back this week. I mean, so to me, you start the backup and you give him the break, let him heal, because you're going to need him for later on in the season. Don't put him out there and risk this right here, and see if you can get a win without him. I mean, that's what if I'm a coach, I'm thinking that like I'm in a good position right now that I have an ability to really, really have that opportunity to save him.
Yeah, I look at last year, when he got hurt and Andy Dalton came in, and we still had Zeke, we still had Pollard, and the drop was just tremendous, and we didn't make the playoffs.
Yeah, no, you're right. And so, you nailed that on the head. So it's a coin flip. That's why they make the money, we'll let them make the decision. As we talk about this, I just looked it up. The Bills' backup tight end is Tommy Sweeney.
Okay.
So look up Tommy Sweeney. He's the second string tight end for Buffalo. He's a good waiver wire pickup. It's a perfect transition into waiver wires right now on this week's team. We have Devontae Freeman, running back, Baltimore, finally starting getting going there. Take a look at him. Brandon Bolden, running back out of New England. He's gotten some touches at least recently, but then again, you're going into the monster of New England's running back system, which is just a coin flip in itself. If you want to take that chance, be it on you. I would stay away from it, but it's at least a waiver wire. If you have nobody else to pick up, we're throwing those names out there for you guys to realize there are people out there that you can still get.
And I imagine a lot of people drop Dearness Johnson knowing that Chubb's coming back.
Yep.
So, is Dearness Johnson worth a flex play this week? Filling in now for Kareem Hunt?
He has to be.
I think so.
Right? He has to. I mean, they run the ball more than anybody. They're the number one running team in the nation, in the league, and he's going to get touches. Chubb's not going to get all the balls when he's healthy like this. So it's he's going to come back.
And Chubb's coming off an injury. Yes, he did have full practice this week, so he 100% is expected to play. But do do you give him a full load immediately
Yeah.
off of injury, or do you let Dearness
Bring him out,
Johnson,
yeah.
who proved himself last week, play some and take some of the pressure off of him?
Yeah, no, you're right. Also, Darius Slayton, wide receiver out of Detroit, out of New York. He's coming back from injury. He's available with Tony and some other guys hurt there. So keep an eye on him. Most people dropped him when he got hurt a couple weeks ago. He's available. Also look into now. This is a name that most people might not know. And during this time, you're trying to find a tight end to fill in, and one of your guys is gone or hurt, or you're trying to get those extra 5 or 6 points. Pat Freiermuth. He's a tight end out of Pittsburgh. You know that Pittsburgh loves to use tight ends. They've got him there. He'll be a security blanket. He did very well last week. I think he was in 70% of the snaps. Got 7 receptions. I think 70 yards. And you know, if you're looking to find a serviceable tight end, take a look at him. He's a good pickup. So you know, these are names that you won't see in everyday list, and you might find them here and there. But it's really good to go take a look at them and see if you can take a stab at them if you really need something late here and get some points.
So we moved into sit-em stardoms.
We're getting there. First, I want to say thank you to our Archer Electric Services Company. They're bringing over 30 years of leadership and experience to both commercial and residential electric needs to Gainesville and surrounding communities. Also want to say thank you to Piesano Stonefire Pizza. Whether you're looking for a quick snack or dinner destination to meet up with friends and family, Piesano's is your place to go. Celebrate life's most memorable moments and delicious dishes, whether in your room or our dining room. Also, go check us out at lastgasfantasy.com or lastgasfantasy@gmail.com. Send us questions during the week. Direct message us. You can also find us on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube Live every Sunday morning at 11 a.m. Send us in the questions. We love it. We appreciate your continued support. And it's awesome. We love it. So keep coming with us. Brad, I got absolutely smoked last week. And I'm telling you, I was disappointed in myself for how bad I picked. Now, whether my pick in the actual show versus my pick on the line ever matched, that'd be a different question. I should just go with my guts a lot of times, but I don't, and I go with being smart. And I went 7-6 last week on the pick'ems. Looks like you went 9-4. We should have listened to you. Great job. And we'll move into this week's picks. Green Bay at Arizona. We know what happened. Arizona choked and gave up that game. Green Bay earned it, going into a tough place to play. And congratulations, Green Bay, for now being where they're at the top of the division.
Doing great.
So it was a crazy stat that I heard there, Brad, is that this is the latest in the season that there have been 5 NFC teams above with only 1 loss or less. They're the top 5 ranked teams in the nation, in the league right now, is all 5 NFC, and that hasn't been this late in the season ever.
Yes.
Or since the merger is what they're saying. So think about that. The NFC is top heavy loaded versus the AFC is just kind of battling it out. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. And that playoff race is going to be nasty down the stretch.
Yes.
Carolina at Atlanta. Who do you like?
Atlanta.
Okay. Atlanta beating Carolina. I got to take Atlanta. I think they've turned it around a little bit. I'm on the train with you on there. Miami is 13.5 underdogs going into Buffalo on probably a cold day up there. If it's 61 here in Florida, it's probably pretty cold in Buffalo today.
Yeah, Buffalo covers.
Buffalo covers that easy. San Francisco at Chicago. Chicago's getting 3.5. And Chicago got stomped by my Bucks last week. I actually earned a beer out of there. Thank you, Paul. We appreciate it, man. That was delicious. And so, who do you got?
49ers.
You got the 49ers and Trey Lance. So I'm going with Chicago. I think Chicago picks up the bootstraps. They seem to bounce back very well from bad games. Early in the season they did this, and now I think that they're going to come back. It's at home. They play a little better at home. I think they beat San Fran. Pittsburgh at Cleveland. Pittsburgh is getting 3.5. They're the underdog. I think that's basically a pick 'em because they give that many points when they're going away. You like Pittsburgh or Cleveland in that
Browns.
game? You like the Browns, huh?
Yep, I'm going to stick with the run game.
Yeah, and so he's going to Browns. I'm also going to go with the Browns. I think that team is playing better than Pittsburgh, but the thing you got to watch for is they're coming off a bye week.
Yes.
They're healthy. They got a little bit of time, and so they're not going to be – that's an interdivisional game. I mean, I think that it's going to be tough sledding for Cleveland today, and we'll see what happens, but I agree with you. I think Cleveland takes it at home. You got Philadelphia at Detroit. Who wins that one?
Philadelphia.
Philadelphia at Detroit. Detroit's going undefeated.
Undefeated.
They're going undefeated, and then they're not going to win a single game. So
Yeah.
they're going. So I mean, I don't see them beating Philly. I think when we talked about the start 'em sit 'ems in a couple minutes, that's my team right there. I think Philly has a monster week against Detroit, especially with those guys. Tennessee at Indy,
Great game.
great game.
Tennessee wins.
Does Tennessee not have a letdown after the two big wins against the Bills and the Chiefs now?
No, I still think Derrick Henry's going to break 100 in this week. So
No, I agree with you. Tennessee is playing too well for them to have a mishap in Indy, and that's what I believe. Cincinnati at the Jets. Cincinnati is giving up 9.5. So do they cover? Is what I'm going to ask you on this one. Do they beat him by at least 10?
well, yes, okay, but New York Jets has a local boy playing quarterback now, Mike White. He's out of Bronson area. I'd love to see the kid come in and play great, being a local boy out of this area.
Yeah.
But do the Cincinnati go in and blow them out? Yes.
And we just talked about it. Cincinnati has been on a roll. They're on a heater. And either Vegas sees something that I don't because it's only 9.5. But I think this has 30 written all over it.
Yes.
So if you're a betting fan, take Cincinnati minus 9.5. Rams at Houston. Rams are giving up 14.5. I think they cover 14.5.
I'm right there with you.
I mean, that game is going to be a blowout. Houston has just struggled, and they have no identity, and they're only going to keep going that way, and it's brutal.
My only wish was the Jets were playing Houston this week because then I could root for Mike.
Then you'd have a really coin flip. The Houston Jets Detroit right now are really battling it out for the supremacy, and it's bad that there's 3 teams worse than Jacksonville, in my opinion, right now. You know, the next game we got New England at LA Chargers. LA is minus 5.5. You know, New England put up 54 points last week, and we didn't mention that this early in the show in a recap, but
This is going to be an interesting game.
Yeah, and I don't know how they put up 54 because if you looked at the stat lines, they weren't that impressive, but they distributed the ball very well. Mac Jones is serviceable. They're right in the hunt in that division with the Bills losing last Monday night.
Right.
They're at 3-4 or 3-3, and the Bills are 4-2. I mean, they're not far out of that division, and you know, Miami's out of it. We know that. Sorry, Freddie. We know that you're a Miami fan, but still, you know, there's some chances there that New England's going to be in this hunt, and they're not going away.
So where do you go with this one?
I'm taking LA, no doubt. Chargers take it, and
I think
handle
Herbert's
business.
got it.
Yep. Jacksonville at Seattle, and Seattle's getting 3.5, or I'm sorry, is losing 3.5. So they're favored. I'm picking Jacksonville all day in this game.
Well, you know, we had this question last week. Does Jacksonville have a chance against Seattle? With Russell hurt, with Carson hurt, with everything that's going on with Seattle right now, I think we got to take Jacksonville.
And that's a surprise to me. I told myself I wouldn't pick Jacksonville again this season, and I'm picking them today, Brad. So I'm going against my word, everybody. I'm sorry. I apologize. But I'm taking Jacksonville. Go Jags. Washington at Denver. Washington is a 3.5 point favorite, so they're getting 3.5. I said that backwards, but you understood it. I'm taking Washington over this. I think Heineke has a great game. He's a sleeper pick for me this week. Heineke is going to have a great game against Denver, and I think they win.
I wouldn't disagree with you, except we're playing in Denver. We're playing Mile High, so I'm going to stick with Denver on this one.
Okay. Tampa at New Orleans. It's only 4.5. And the last time they put Tampa at 4.5 against New England, they didn't cover. So somebody knows something different than me. I still think they win this game, but I think it's a blowout. But maybe that's just my little bias on there.
I'm staying with Tampa.
Yep. Dallas at Minnesota. I don't know why this spread is so close. It's only 1.5. I don't think Minnesota's that good of a team, but with Dalvin Cook and some of the receivers there, they potentially definitely have a will to do well. And it just seems that Dallas should beat them.
Well, I think the spread's at 1.5 because of Dak's injury.
Yeah.
I do feel that Dallas wins this game. I do feel that Dallas's defense wins this game for them.
Yeah.
And I say sit Kirk Cousins.
Yeah, so that's your sit 'em. Yeah, and that's the late game, Sunday night, 8:20, primetime TV. It's going to be a great game. It's going to be good. I'm pretty stoked about that. So that's going to be a good one. And then you have your Monday night game. The Giants are getting 9.5 at Kansas City. Kansas City's trying to turn their season around a little bit and get back to 500. Who do you like in that one, Brad?
This is a tough one. I mean, I do not think it's going to be a 9.5 point game. I think we're looking at a 3 to 5 point
Yep.
spread here,
Yep.
but I have to stay with Kansas.
And that's, if you'd asked me in week 1 that I think Kansas City was going to be a questionable game against the Giants in week 8,
No way.
I would have laughed at myself for saying that. But with the way that the Giants have battled week in and week out, if Kansas City leaves this game close, they're toast.
Yes.
If they don't go out and just put it on early and kind of bury them, the Giants win this game.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna go out on a limb and say the Giants win this game money line here. So I'm gonna take money line. You can give me the 9.5. I'm taking them out straight out. I think Giants beat Kansas City in Arrowhead.
If Giants were healthy and Tony was playing and Barkley's playing, I think we all go Giants.
Oh, I don't think it's a question there. But I mean, once again, it's how are you saying that against the MVP,
I know.
former MVP of a league, back-to-back Super Bowl appearances? So it's wild to be thinking that, and that's great. We're talking about the stardom sit-ems here before we go into the last couple minutes of the show. Brad and I both agree that must-starts are Trevor Lawrence, Joe Burrow, and Kyle Pitts out of Atlanta. They've done great. They keep going there, Brad. And we talked about most of those guys early in the show. The sit-em, Brad just mentioned it when we talked about Minnesota and him playing their Dallas Cowboys. Sit Kirk Cousins. That defense is going to fly around there. They'll probably have 4 or 5 sacks and interception. We'll see if your boy gets another interception this
another
week.
one.
So Brad's calling it right now, an interception for him, for Diggs in the backfield of the defensive backfield for Dallas. So if he doesn't, we're going to call him out on it next week. My sleepers this week, and I was mentioning it with the Eagles game, Jalen Hurts and Devontae Smith. Start them, play them. Those are my sleeper picks this week. I think they're going to have a monster game coming off a bye, relaxed. Going into Detroit is always a way to do it and always a nice way to get some points. So, great there. We'll round out the show this week. We're talking about a foundation for the Green Bay Packers. The Green Bay Packers Foundation has donated more than $14.5 million since 1986. They deal with different things such as elderly, homelessness, human services, hunger, arts and culture, athletics, education, animal welfare, civic and community environmental help, health and wellness, including drug and alcohol and domestic violence cases. They're an independent organization of the Green Bay Packers, but they work directly with them to try to show the support all throughout Wisconsin. And it's just one of those things that you love to see and hear about, these organizations that are giving that much money back to the community and back to the people that need it the most.
Yes.
So, thank you to these people, and they donate their time for nonprofit charitable events. And we can't say enough to the Green Bay Packers and what they do for that community up there. It's when you're a Packer for life. I had a buddy yesterday and I know it means that mothers and some other people like that, they're diehard Packer fans. I mean, they're some of the best fans out there.
But they're the only team in the league that's owned by the fans. So
Yeah, you can own the Packers, Brad.
yes.
So we've got about a minute left in the show, Brad. Anything you're looking forward to this week in the games?
Well, I'm always looking forward to my Dallas game, but I'm interested to see how the Kansas City bounce back if they can. I'm interested to see the Titans if they can still rush the ball.
Yep.
If Baltimore returns with Lamar and stuff.
Yep. I'm interested to see if the Jags, coming off a bye week, can play well on the road in Seattle. It's a long West Coast trip. And I'm also interested to see that Browns-Steeler game. I think it's going to be better than most think, and I think it's going to be a close game. I like the Browns in that one. But we want to say again, thank you to our sponsors. Thank you for everybody that's watching live on Facebook and YouTube, Twitter. Continue to show the support. Continue to send us your questions during the week. And we'll see you next week. Have a great time.